We're following details of a looming threat to the health and safety of domestic violence victims. Funding for the Violence Against Women Act is tied up in the debate over the fiscal cliff. Our TV6 reporter Jack Reinhardt joins us now with how this loss of funding threatens thousands of Hoosier women. Jack.
Well, Todd, the Violence Against Women Act has a shelf life. Congress must periodically vote to reauthorize the act. And if Congress can't reach agreement on the fiscal cliff issue, much of the money that helps domestic violence victims get back on their feet will be gone. Coburn Place is the only long-term shelter in the city, helping as many as 50 families each year escape domestic violence. 10% of its budget comes from the Violence Against Women's Act, funding a number of programs and staff services.
And those advocates are providing day-to-day support to our families, helping our adult clients set goals for themselves to get back on their feet, to obtain permanent housing, to find work, to get financial literacy resources.
According to the American Medical Association, women face greater dangers inside the home than they do on the street. 1 in 4 women killed each year is domestic related. The Violence Against Women Act funds $5.5 million statewide and nearly $750,000 in Indianapolis annually.
They help law enforcement and prosecutors' offices have special prosecution units and investigative units to help combat domestic violence, help reduce homicide within the communities, and it's really critical to provide that safety and resources for women and children.
The Violence Against Women Act provides $100,000 in annual support for Coburn Place. Losing support for long-term assistance to victims would have a substantial impact on the shelter and its clients.
But if we lost this type of funding and would potentially lose transitional housing units in Indianapolis, it would be devastating and very dangerous for families who are being impacted by domestic violence.
The Violence Against Women's Act is lost in the fiscal cliff debate, caught up in arguments over tribal and immigration issues, cuts in spending, and increases in taxes. And victims of domestic violence face a future far more uncertain than most. Jack Reinhardt, RTV6.
Jack, thank you. There are several resources you can turn to if you're in a domestic violence situation. You can call the Domestic Violence Network of Greater Indianapolis at 317-926-4357 or the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence at 800-332-7385 or 205-4673.